Hello, 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 and welcome to Thursday Night Insights because again, we have rescheduled, but you're still getting the same fantastic information thanks to myself, thanks to at that FF nerd, Jason Draven, and thanks to at Donald McJordan, Jordan McDonald. How's it going, my friends?
It's going, man. I've been just watching all these different job openings and all the people getting interviewed, and so it's going to be interesting to see where people end up and just some of the stuff we can talk about it's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's funny too because we've been doing this for 3 weeks now, and like every time we air or we do one of these, it seems like we have more openings to talk about.
Yeah, they're
Like Sean
the
Payton
Saints?
retired.
What? Like, where did that come from?
Well,
I mean,
yeah, it was.
You
it was
really don't
random.
understand where it comes from?
no, I do. We can get right into it. We may as well get right into it.
Yeah,
What
that-
happened with Sean Payton?
That cap is part of it, and the fact that he has no offense. I mean, what you're going to try to run that whole offense with Hill, hopefully get Winston back and Kamara. It's going to be rough sledding for whoever is taking over that job.
Yeah, It's tough to say. Maybe he just wanted a break. Like he's just burnt out from coaching. Like that must have been a tough year for him. The fact that he got that team over 500 says all you need to say about how good of a coach he is.
Yeah,
There were
that
some bad
defense.
games. Like, I mean, the Ian Book game, if he would have had Taysom Hill, that probably could have been a lot closer, probably could have won that, maybe even been in the playoffs. So, I think that I want to see what his next move is because I know he wants to get into the TV side of things, but I don't think coaching's done, and we're gonna speculate on that. I know you got some ideas.
I absolutely do not think his coaching career's done. He's gonna probably do media for a year. He'd be fantastic at it. Everyone would love it. But there's no way he's done.
No.
He wanted out. Didn't want to deal with that cap situation anymore. Can't blame him for that. But what's going to happen here? Because you remember, Sean Payton, he was in Dallas for quite a long time. So when Mike McCarthy fails to bring the Cowboys to the Super Bowl, Sean Payton will return as the head coach of America's team, the Dallas Cowboys.
Man, I could see that, but I can also see him going and taking over the Miami job because whoever they put in is just an interim option because they can't find who they really want after realizing how huge of a mistake they made with Brian Flores.
Well, I don't know. It's hard to say that because they don't even have a coach yet.
That's why I'm saying. I'm assuming that they're probably going to have somebody that's an interim option, whether it's somebody who's already there or not. And
So,
it's just going to be ugly.
This year's David Culley. I don't know about that. That's a little too spicy for me.
It does feel like they're floundering, though.
Oh, it could be. But, I mean, like, what if they end up getting Brian Daboll? I think he's going to go to the Giants now anyways, but I mean, you don't go for some guy like that and expect to be in the market.
Also, why would Sean Payton want to go to Miami?
That's another thing too. Yeah, you don't know. Like,
why?
You don't even know if he wants to go to Dallas.
Oh, he definitely wants to go to Dallas. He spent so much time there. That's where he grew up. That's where his family is. Dallas is the place for Sean Payton. Mark my words.
What do you think he coaches his son's football team again? They make another movie about it, starring Kevin James.
Maybe that's why Sean Payton decided to hang it up early, because when you build your whole career, you invest your life into this game, into the NFL, into being one of the best head coaches in the league. And then they make a movie and cast you as Kevin James. The disrespect. I can't blame him.
I mean, if Kevin had lost a little more weight, I think that's a pretty easy pass there.
Oh.
I think it works out just fine.
Kevin James is never an easy pass. He's an easy pass as in, pass. No thank you.
I mean, they look similar. I don't know.
Well, you know who else they
is.
could have used? They wouldn't have never gotten this, but they could have used like Daniel Craig. I think Daniel Craig kind of looks like Sean Payton. But that's like so like low for Daniel Craig. Like Daniel Craig's
I need the Daniel Craig starring Sean Payton movie in my life.
It's the Schneider cut of fake football movies.
Regardless, though, Jameis is a free agent. Maybe he's back. Maybe Taysom's the QB. Can we draft any Saints next year? Alvin Kamara, what's life going to be like for him?
So that's just it. That's part of this is I really think that they end up trading him away.
Oh, wow. Jason.
Well, the reason being is look at his cap number. Like they save so much money trading him away that really works towards their cap as well as getting rid of Michael Thomas. I doubt they do that, but they could at least try. And that really helps them at least get closer to the right number for their cap.
I don't know. It'd be tough to trade Kamara because if you trade Kamara, you're essentially telling the fans that, hey, we're not trying this year. And I know they're probably in limbo now.
I thought that was the case last year.
Yeah, and yeah, like I said, like he dragged that team to like a over 500 record, like and possibly playoffs. We don't know what would have happened in that game if he had a real quarterback playing. Well, I say that the real quarterback was Taysom Hill, but you know what I mean.
It's
but yeah,
still better than Ian Book.
I know. But yeah, there's most likely going to trade Michael Thomas just because Michael Thomas doesn't seem happy there, and the whole ankle issue last year and him waiting, whatever. But Kamara, that was going to be a tough sell, at least for the fans. Like they could get whatever. I don't know how much they could really get for him, but I don't know. If I was a Saints fan and they trade Kamara, that just tells me that hey, we're not trying next year. We're tanking for picks. So,
well, I mean, honestly, if they trade away Kamara, it really depends on what they can get back. Because if they get back a first-round pick, I mean, they could really help beef up that line. There's so many other options that they could really work towards to help make that team better. You saw what their defense could do as they held Tom Brady to 0 points in that game. It's just like mind-blowing. So they definitely have a solid defense, and they could make that even better and then still have picks to work with for the upcoming years.
Offensive line, I think, is okay. I know they're not getting Teron Armstead back, and they're probably not going to resign him just because like they're in like deeper than cap hell. But they have pieces there. They have Ramczyk, who he was a little hurt this year, but when he plays, he's a top 5, maybe even top 3 right tackle. So
Cesar Ruiz, Eric McCoy, it's a strong line.
Andrews Pete, yeah, like it's a good line. They need a left tackle though. If Teron Armstead's on back, and I don't think
and
he will.
They need some receivers.
I hope Teron Armstead goes to the Colts. But anyways, we won't get into that. The personal bias aside.
Yeah, I hope everyone goes to the Colts.
No, not everyone. They can't afford it, and they don't need that much more help. I mean, you saw what Wentz did, and it'll be fine.
Well, they literally don't have a left tackle next year, so they do need somebody to fill that gap.
They do indeed.
But I'm gonna shut up about that because we don't need to talk about them. Why did
they have 3 tight ends? They have 3 tight ends.
Oh my goodness!
No, they don't. Jack Doyle. Okay, we're done.
We can talk about some real news because Aaron Rodgers going to Denver. The Broncos have hired Nathaniel Hackett, Packers' now former offensive coordinator, to be their head coach of the future. And I don't know if you're connecting the dots like I am, but that sure implies that Aaron Rodgers could be coming to Denver.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely what Denver's hoping. I can guarantee that much at least. And
I would like to point out that I predicted this correctly.
You did. I will. Yeah, I was gonna say that when I saw that this morning. Like that's when. Well, okay. Let's just say you were only right because Dan Quinn renounced his.
No. Denver chose Nathaniel Hackett over Dan Quinn.
Is that true? So I'm sorry, I didn't get the news quickly.
Yes. After Hackett was hired, everyone started speculating. Ooh, is Dan Quinn gonna back out because that was his top job? Well, maybe he takes the Bears job.
That's you know what? Because we went into last week like pretty much just waiting for the news to drop that Dan Quinn was going to be the head coach, and week went by. Maybe I still think Dan Quinn left them at the altar because the Nathaniel Hackett thing seems like I hope it's not short-sighted. Like I hope it's not like, okay, if we do this, we have the best chance to get Rodgers. Because that's just not gonna fly if in 3 years you don't have him and you're still the same spot you are now.
I think it's more of it would be great if this helps us get Rodgers, but Nathaniel Hackett, even before he went to Green Bay, was no scrub. Remember, he got the Jaguars to the AFC Championship because you can't credit that to Doug Marrone. Sure, the defense helped a lot, but the offense with Blake Bortles was ticking at the time. I think that Nathaniel Hackett might be okay, but to your point, maybe Dan Quinn turned these jobs down because you think about it. The jobs available next year, Arizona, Dallas, Seattle, Bruce Arians might hang it up after a year because Bruce Arians only came back because Byron Leftwich was going to be his OC. If Bruce Arians starts calling plays again, that might be too much.
Oh, I'm sure he'll
Yeah, Max 12. There were rumors he wanted to stay in Dallas, so I would agree. Well, he's staying there for sure now, and maybe he's chasing one of these higher profile jobs next year.
could be. Yeah, and maybe he's just like, I'll have much more, and like I'll enjoy myself more leading this Dallas defense than taking over some middling team.
And with
Yeah,
the Broncos, I think that they'll be better on offense regardless. If they don't land Aaron Rodgers, they'll do something at the
Kirk
quarterback
Cousins.
position.
No,
Kirk
we
Cousins.
agreed. No, it was Andy Dalton.
There you go.
Andy Dalton's starting for 7 different teams, according to
Yeah,
Jason.
100%. He needs that job. I don't care where he goes. It's going to work out great for your fantasy options for
Yeah,
sure.
did you see Darnell Mooney this year?
Fantastic with him.
And there's
Only
some,
time he had success.
there's some talk too that if Aaron Rodgers does leave Green Bay, look for the Packers to target Marcus Mariota.
Oh.
Mariota and Jordan Love, the tag team to replace Aaron Rodgers.
That just
Ugh.
Feels exactly like going from Tom Brady to Cam Newton and Brian Hoyer and Jarrett Stidham.
Yeah, I mean it's an upgrade, I guess, but wow, that's a rough go either way.
Yeah, and I think it's worse because like at least when he went to Cam Newton, there was, I wouldn't say optimism, but there was a chance like, okay, Cam Newton's not the guy, he's the stopgap. Whereas in Packers, if you bring in Mariota, you're still thinking, okay, Love's our guy, even though we haven't seen anything enough to really think that he'll be the starter. This is what you plan for. You draft him this high. If Rodgers leaves, Love should be the guy. I agree bringing in a guy like Mariota just to have that stability, just in case he goes off the rails. But what a disaster! We go back to that draft. That was a stupid pick. Like we go down the list, who else they could have had to help Rodgers overcome the NFC Championship hump, and they decided, you know what, we just want to uproot our team for no reason.
And poor Aaron Rodgers getting canceled by the Green Bay Packers. Oh, you hate to see it. But you love to see that the Chicago Bears, in their redesign that they're going to obviously have to do, they're going to have to change the nameplates on the doors and stuff. Not going to be as much work as you think. Ryan Poles, the new GM from Kansas City. Matt Eberflus, the new head coach from Indianapolis. Ryan, the GM. Matt, the head coach. It's a repeat.
So Matt Ryan to the Bears confirmed?
Matt Nagy, Ryan Pace, replaced by another Matt in Eberflus. Poor shit. How do you feel, Jordan? Because you've long been against Matt Eberflus getting a head coaching job.
I've not been long against Matt Eberflus. I am happy for Matt Eberflus. I'm surprised it took him this long to get a head coaching job because after the first year with the Colts, he was getting, he was getting interviews. I don't know when he got his first one, but he was in the mix the last several years. So I'm happy for him, and hopefully he can turn the Bears around. I don't know if he will. I'm not going to say he won't, but I mean, they still haven't found success. And what has it been now? Almost 40 years. So, I mean, you can count the Rex Grossman Super Bowl appearance, but.
And this does worry me a little bit about the future of Justin Fields because you see all the time that a new head coach and a new GM, they want their guy. They want their hand-picked face of the franchise. And I love Justin Fields, and he should be that face of the franchise. I'm just a smidge worried.
And I'm also, and I said this when we made our predictions, that why not just go offense? You have Fields for at least 4 more years. You've invested 2 picks in him, and I know the GM didn't make that move himself, but this is a great opportunity to build around him, make it put him in a position to succeed, build around the roster, kind of what you did with Trubisky, right? Like when they brought in Khalil Mack, when they brought in all these guys and they had success. Obviously, it fizzled out pretty quickly, but Fields, he's one of those quarterbacks that you want in the new NFL, the guy that can run. He's got to work on a couple things. He's not perfect, but you'll get an offensive coach. You'll mold that quarterback.
And J Max 12 says that they hired Ryan and Matt so Virginia wouldn't forget their name. Just makes life easier for Bears ownership. Oh, goodness. Shots fired by J Max.
Best comment we've ever gotten.
Honestly, though, the Bears deserve it, but they've always been a defensive team, so I understand their logic of trying to go with a defensive guy. We'll see how it plays out.
But don't let it be wrong. I do not root against Matt Eberflus. I hope he succeeds.
That's the only way they have success is by making sure that defense is just something incredible.
I was kidding about the Matt Eberflus slander. It was just a couple teams. You said
no, you weren't. We both know what Jordan was thinking, so it's all fine.
Anyways,
I re-tilted about them. He was just trying to pile on.
Matt Eberflus, he was a finalist for the Jacksonville Jaguars job. Obviously not anymore. Going to depend on their offensive coordinator hire, really. Absolutely. That's the key factor for Justin Fields and the Bears. But for the Jaguars, Matt Eberflus, he was one of the finalists. He got the job in Chicago. The other finalist, Nathaniel Hackett, he got the job in Green Bay. So there's one finalist left, and that's Byron Leftwich, the former Jacksonville Jaguars quarterback, the offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But there's a power struggle going on already because Byron Leftwich doesn't want the job if Trent Baalke's the GM. Doesn't want to deal with that. Instead, Byron Leftwich says bring in former Cardinals safety, who is a player personnel executive with the Arizona Cardinals, Adrian Wilson. Yes, the all-pro safety turned front office man. That would be a dynamic pairing in Jacksonville. And to make things even sweeter, Vic Fangio is rumored to be in the running to be the defensive coordinator, much to Jason's chagrin.
Yeah, that completely ruins my idea. I really just want him to go to LA and be perfectly happy as a Chargers defensive coordinator because we need it. We need help there for sure, and it's just frustrating to watch.
Well, and Vic Fangio handpicked Brandon Staley as a college linebackers coach, and Vic Fangio said, no, come to the NFL. You're the guy.
Yeah, so it makes perfect sense. He just needs to move to LA where it's nice and warm, get out of all that nonsense that is Denver, which is just a mess right now, and he'll be perfectly happy.
What if he goes to LA, but to replace Raheem Morris?
Some days I just really hate you.
That's most days.
Well, we are here on a Thursday, so yes, today counts.
And speaking of Raheem Morris, he is in the running to be the Vikings' next head coach, but kind of seems as though everyone is. They've only done one round of interviews with people, and we know the Vikings planned all along to hire their general manager, which they did. They hired Cleveland Browns and former Harvard graduate Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah. He's going to be the new general manager, and if you listen to this guy talk, I'm really excited about the future of the Minnesota Vikings. People challenge him because he's not a football guy. He didn't play. He's a nerd. Went to Harvard. But you have to remember, a general manager isn't head talent scout. There's a lot that goes into being a general manager. You have to be good with the cap. You have to be good with the scouting. You have to be good with the draft. And he's admitted, I will listen to people that are better than me at scouting. It's my job to take that information and apply it. So,
yeah.
Vikings.
Sorry.
No, I was going to end it there. So, Vikings,
Yeah, I
heading in the
just
right
I just
direction.
want to say, like, to your point, that a lot of people confuse GM as like just the only thing they do is they mix the roster around, they add and subtract players. No, they do so much more, that they oversee a lot of the organizational structure and have a lot more responsibility than that. And yeah, like, he will probably have final say on roster decisions, but that won't come until after he's consulted with the necessary professionals and the people in charge of certain areas and to make those decisions. So yeah, I agree, and I think that he understands that and he seems transparent about that. So it like seems like a good hire to me. And head coach, we'll see. Like that, I remember this one was tough to really predict because they can go anywhere with this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, part of being, I feel like, a GM is that you want to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you. I mean, that's just always how you should see even your friend class. It should be, I want to be around people who are smarter than me to make me better, make me work harder. I mean, that's part of why I join Important Nonsense, is because I know I'm surrounded by smarter people. So I can continue to just
Making me
go
blush, Jason.
iron sharpens iron, right? So we're trying to do that and get better and better. And so when you look at that as kind of his guiding point, I think it really could lead to a lot of successfully for the Vikings.
And it's going to be really interesting to see who that head coach ends up being. And there's a little bit of chatter that because he's a Browns guy, maybe Kirk Cousins goes to Cleveland. Takes Baker Mayfield's job. Reunion with Kevin Stefanski.
No. Do you think Stefanski wants that though?
Oh,
I know you're gonna say it's not worse than Baker, but
I was gonna say I don't know. It would be a really weird QB competition.
yeah.
It'd be entertaining. But yeah, lots of questions still with the Minnesota Vikings. Lots of questions with the Raiders. But one thing we know for certain, they will interview Josh McDaniels,
No.
Patriots offensive coordinator. Now, they've already interviewed Dave Ziegler, who I don't know what his official title is, but he's the general manager. Bill Belichick's general manager. Dave Ziegler, he does the actual GM job. So, could Mark Davis be looking at a New England Redux in Las Vegas?
When has that ever worked? Let me just say something, and I'm gonna put my bias aside because I hate McDaniels. That's basically it. Like, do you really think this is gonna help? Like, did you see him with Denver? Did you see what he did to the Colts? Like, do you really trust this guy to run your football team and not have it blow up in your face? Like, what's the difference now than? Like, I don't know. I think this is just a tired thing. I thought McDaniels, when he spurned the Colts, that he was just gonna have he was gonna be the successor to Bill. But no, he almost had the Eagles job last year, and now he's, I guess, interviewing for the Raiders. So I hope whoever signs him, and if they do, I hope it blows up in their face. I'll be rooting against whatever team signs him. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so if that's the case, I don't want him to be. Well, I guess it would actually be better if he went to the Raiders. I just like the idea of the huge competition is going to be the AFC West. Like, I feel like moving forward, the championship is going to be from an AFC West member with the potential quarterback of, Aaron Rodgers, Pat Mahomes, Justin Herbert. I mean, that's going to be quite the list to be competing with.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough division, so I hope you're ready for some L's coming forward, Jason.
Yeah. Well, I'm already a Chargers fan, so I'm kind of used to it, and so any W's is worth it.
Dude, there's 2 L's in Daniel Carlson.
Shots fired. Bang, bang.
Hey, we at least got a kicker this year, so I'm happy with that at least.
I think
we didn't use him. We didn't use him, but we have him.
You lose to the Jaguars, and I would have completely accepted that.
And speaking of the Jaguars, just when are they going to pull the trigger on Byron Leftwich? I just want to get back to that for a second.
Well, didn't you say, like, once they get Adrian Wilson, they get Trent Baalke out the door? You know what he should have done with Leftwich? He should have changed his Twitter profile picture to a clown with a mustache, because that seems to work for the other fans.
He should have. But no, I'm just waiting for the notification for it to happen. Everyone knows it's going to happen at this point. Just do it. Just do it.
Yeah, and especially because Hackett and
Eberflus.
Yeah, those guys are there's there are two other guys like you mentioned. So it just seems like meant to be at this point.
So they're one of the teams that had 3 finalists. They've obviously been narrowed down to 1. The Giants, we do know they have 3 finalists. They finished interviewing Brian Flores today. They interviewed Brian Dable earlier this week. And tomorrow, they will interview Leslie Frazier, the defensive coordinator for the Bills. It's going to be one of these 3.
Bad.
What's that, Jason?
I said wrong, Frazier. My bad.
And down goes Frazier. But
we all know who that's going to be.
It's going to be Brian Dable.
Okay.
They've talked about building so sorry, Giants fans, but Daniel Jones is going to be the guy again going forward.
Yeah, they made that pretty obvious.
They did. And owner John Mara, I will say, it's rare for a billionaire to put the onus on himself in the NFL. Usually they blame the coaches and the staff. Admits they've done everything wrong in terms of helping Daniel Jones. And I know he can't say that Dave Gettleman had a hand in it, but he did. And that's over. And so going forward, they want Daniel Jones to succeed. And that's what Joe Schoen's here to help do. We already saw what Brian Dable can do with an athletic quarterback in Buffalo. Daniel Jones is not Josh Allen in terms of athleticism, arm strength, anything, swagger, fun, anything. But he could be good enough with Brian Dable.
I mean, he might be good. We just need to see them put an O-line in first. It's hard to tell because he does have the skill set. It's not as great as Josh Allen, but it could be good enough that, they actually come out with a winning season with Daboll at the helm.
Yeah, I just know that if it is Dable, I'm going to be so unrealistically high on Daniel Jones, for better or for worse, to the moon. And then I'll be back on Galladay. I'll be back on, Darius Slayton. Saquon is worth his low first round ADP, most likely, and then it'll blow up in our face. But that'll be okay because then at least Dave will have his pick of the litter when it comes to quarterbacks
QB
next
year.
Yeah. So
very true. Very true. That's one thing you're going to have to be on the lookout for us this offseason is hopefully we don't get too high on Daniel Jones once again because we've been burned on that.
We will. The last 2 years. But I will say for these are 3 great candidates, and I don't feel like they can't go wrong with either. I want Flores just because that's who I had. I want to be right with my predictions, but everything I'm reading, it seems like it will be Dable.
I think that is the main point, though, is you can't go wrong with any of these hires. The Miami Dolphins, on the other hand, they could go very wrong, and it seems as though they may have already done that. Seems as though they have some major regrets about firing Brian Flores because they seem directionless at head coach. They're not interviewing people too often. It's very quiet. Could that be because their top candidate is in the playoffs still?
Who's their top candidate?
Eric Bieniemy, perhaps?
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought it was. I've heard like Kellen Moore.
I don't know. I don't know who their top candidate is. I don't think they have one. I don't think they know.
I heard Dable was a possibility, but I still think he'll probably pick Giants just because the Joe Schoen or is it Schoen or Shane?
I don't know.
Being whatever. Yeah, who knows? Maybe Jason's right. Maybe it's an interim coach.
Any one of them, and then they'll just wait for.
I just think that's a stupid idea, but I mean, I've seen stupider things. The Texans. So
that's the only reason I even thought of it is because it's like the Texans kind of just did it, so I could see.
But that's talk about rudderless. My God.
Yeah.
They're going to end up hiring Josh McCown anyways, and then that's just going to be the talk of the offseason. Doesn't matter what these other teams do.
One other thing I've heard now just reminded me with the talks of offensive coordinators and the Texans with the weird head coaching candidates they've interviewed. They interviewed Heinz Ward, the former Steelers receiver. Now, he's probably not making the jump immediately, but he is a wide receivers coach at FAU in Florida, not that far from Jacksonville. He played with Byron Leftwich in Pittsburgh. There's a lot of dots to be connected that Heinz Ward could be stepping back into the NFL coaching circles as a receivers coach, maybe an OC. Head coach, though, for Heinz Ward, Josh McCown, that's a bold step. Texans.
Yeah, I mean, it's just there's all these jobs are just so frustrating because you don't really have a whole lot of good talent on your team, which really hurts. I love, like, the Houstons have Cooks and Mills as really the only things you can build around because you know that they're shipping off Watson somewhere. So with that in mind, like, whoa. What else is there?
It's a bottom of the barrel roster.
And how long is Cooks there for? How long is their contract for? I can't see it being too much longer because I know he's been bounced around with the same contract, if I'm not mistaken. I'll look that up while you guys.
He pretty much has. They've said they want to sign him long term though, and they want Brandon Cooks to be a cornerstone of their franchise.
No, if I'm Brandon Cooks and I've gone through the career I've had, I know that I could be traded at any time by any team. Why would I put roots down for a team that has no direction and try
Jason's giggling over there about.
Well, no, I'm not saying he's a bad player. What I'm saying is that he should look
I think
elsewhere.
He found the contract.
Yeah, it's so frustrating just because of the fact that
he signed through next year and that's it.
Yeah,
I think
2022. And then
they could restructure it. I don't know how this works, but
yeah. So looking at the restructure,
he can't. If he wants to, he is a UFA in 2023.
Yeah, so he could leave, but I'm assuming if they're wanting to keep him around, like,
I mean, if you want to pay him a ton of money,
to me. Yeah, he is so talented that I just don't understand why he isn't somewhere. And everywhere he goes, he's just continues to put up numbers.
Yeah, if you want to pay him like the top 10 receiver Jason thinks he is, he could stay. Like, money talks. But I just know if I was him, he's been to 2 Super Bowls, lost both of them. The one he got knocked out of. I would want to compete. I wouldn't want to play for the Texans, who are probably going to be the worst team in football next year. At least that's how it's looking.
It does. And the Dolphins and the Texans look like the most directionless teams in the NFL.
At least the Dolphins have pieces
they do. I'm just talking about a structure, a plan.
Yeah, I know.
It seems as though Miami, not a long-term plan there.
Yeah, that's definitely part of the issues that they're running into for sure. It's just the fact that they, much like the Texans, they don't have a whole lot of direction or guidance or anybody who cares enough to really move them forward.
Yeah,
which is frustrating because especially if you're a Jalen Waddle owner, this is going to be, oh my gosh, I couldn't even think of that as an idea.
It's ruining your dynasty team.
You have no idea. But
and you said no guidance. The only person that seemed to have any guidance was Brian Flores, and that's why everyone was shocked when he left or got fired.
Yeah, exactly. They're demolishing the team, and I just don't know why yet. And so until something happens, you can't touch anybody. Now,
I still want to say though, for the Dolphins though, I still think they're dark horse for Harbaugh. I still do. I don't think it's being reported enough. I could be wrong, but
yeah, if that is the plan and they're just being quiet intentionally, then I will be eating a lot of crow. But I don't believe they have a plan. I don't even believe they have a plot. Friends quote.
Man, I'm going to be selfish again because thinking about Brandon Cooks, I really want the Chargers to trade for him. He's a speed guy, which we don't have on our team. Our fastest guy runs a 4.56. Like, having Cooks who runs a 4.3 would be awesome as a Tyron Johnson replacement that we desperately needed last year. God, that would be awesome.
Are you okay, Jason?
No, I'm losing it because looking at his contract, it's just like he's such a cheap option. It doesn't help him clearly because it is a dead cap of 7.5, but if you could try and take some of that away with how much cap space the Chargers have right now.
Yeah, and I don't think that they're really too worried. Like the Texans are worried about dead cap if they're not competing. Like they probably could get a good pick for Brandon Cooks, but poor Brandon Cooks, man. Like,
yeah, I want him to have success. Put him on the Chargers. Let's go.
Back to LA. At least he's comfortable there.
Oh man.
Some good news though, outside of the NFL. Oh, well, before we get to that, Mike Manning would like to chime in. I really want my favorite team to trade for my favorite player. And here's why.
You're welcome.
Jason is consistent, if nothing else.
Always. I'm always consistent. I will be the one who always wants the best players on my team. You are correct. I would be a great GM for that reason. I would pay anything for these players. I would definitely end up having no money. All my money would be gone.
And then you'd be the New Orleans Saints.
Yes, but our team would be awesome, and I'd win Super Bowls.
With Brandon Cooks, even though the Saints had Brandon Cooks and didn't win a Super Bowl with him. But good news for all you Jeff Fisher fans, because he has been announced as the head coach of the USFL's Michigan Panthers.
Wow.
I didn't even know the USFL was still running.
It's coming back.
Is it? Oh, that's news to me.
That's the big news. I think is it 2022 or 2023 that it's coming back. I'm going to have to look that
over
up
under and how many seasons they go through. One.
No, it's USFL 2022. April 16th is when the USFL will launch. Jeff Fisher, head coach of the Michigan Panthers, which I don't love the name. And speaking of not loving the name, there's been some leaks that Washington football team has a new name. The Washington Commanders has been purchased as a domain by the Washington ownership group.
There was
shorten it to the Washington Commies. I don't know.
Wolf.
There was that report. Well, not a report, but if you typed in WashingtonAdmirals.com, it took you to the Washington football team webpage, and then they changed it. And for some reason, it was taking you to like an Atlanta-based food kitchen. And this was like a month ago. So everyone's like, "Oh, it's Admirals," but I've heard now that the Commanders, and I've seen the smoke about that. I
mean, they can really go through any ranking in the Army or any armed services and be pretty set with whatever they're doing.
I said this. I said I'll be okay with whatever the name is as long as it's not racist.
That's something that we can all get behind here.
Yeah, that I can definitely support that as a notion.
I mean, it's the bare minimum, but still, what a low bar.
What a low bar that for years.
Well, they really need to build a new brand. That's part of their issue for sure. Is they need to just they kind of ruined it pretty hard.
Needs to sell the team.
Yeah, I mean, you could change the name, the logo, the colors, all you want. The fact that the owner remains the same is the only indictment. Is the true indictment on this team, and that's not going away. You can't rebrand that away.
It's going to take some time, and Ron Rivera was part of the reason to start doing that. We'll see, because he's had some struggles early in his career with Washington because they just don't have a quarterback. What can you do? Yeah.
So hopefully they get something. And speaking of quarterbacks, I mean, Ben Roethlisberger finally moving on, going to retire. I'm happy for him. I'm just so curious about what the Steelers are going to do now.
I am going to be so sick to my stomach
when
we have to come on here and we have to discuss that Aaron Rodgers is with the Steelers.
Oh.
I'm going to hate it so much, and then Mike Manning is going to revel in it because he's been beating that drum ever since it started coming up. And I'm telling you, man, it makes sense. It really does. I know they're not a great team, but
a lot of great offensive weapons. Well, they have great weapons there.
They will. They'll have weapons. Like that won't be an issue. I think blocking will be an issue. But look, do you see Rodgers' line for the game against San Francisco? I know a lot had to do with the future Broncos offense coordinator. I don't know his name. I'll have to look it up. But Rodgers could probably maneuver his way behind that line if they don't do anything to address it. But again, you have a quarterback. You can use your assets to go out and get linemen. The defense, I think, is okay. I don't know. I
feel
I
like
hate
the
that
defense actually won them a lot of games this year. So
Yeah.
being okay is an understatement. They're pretty solid, and just the fact that Ben couldn't hit his wide receivers. Like some of the Claypool shots weren't even close, and it's a lot of, I really love the offense if they get a good quarterback. If you really look at it, Claypool, Johnson, Freiermuth, Harris, like that's pretty set. You can get a lot done, especially on with as fast as Rodgers can read defense. It'll be really impressive to see him be able to just go through that. I don't think it'll happen, but it would be nice to see that offense run well with a good quarterback.
Oh, shocker. Mike Manning, the Pittsburgh Steelers homer, agrees
Hey,
with
you know what? If they go there, man, he can toot that horn all he wants. Like, I wouldn't blame him because, the Colts are outside possibility, and, I know that Pat McAfee is yucking it up with him on his weekly segment they have, and I guess that he's doing the announcement in Indy. And in that case, I was just like, well, if you're not coming to Indy, then why do it there anyways? But
oh boy,
I will put aside all my morals, how I feel about Aaron Rodgers if he is the quarterback.
Imagine the tomfoolery between Aaron Rodgers and Pat McAfee if he goes to Indianapolis.
Oh my god,
it'd be great. Everyone will be watching.
It would be just the stunts at the game. Pat would be on at the sideline every game. He'd be a de facto cheerleader for the team.
He essentially is.
He is, but he would probably have a full cheerleader get up on the sideline at that point. What a world. What a world. And it's nice to be able to put aside our differences and focus on football as a little distraction from everything else, because we can all come together and agree that the Colts made a mistake on drafting Carson Wentz or trading for Carson Wentz.
You could say that, like, hindsight's 2020. I won't go into this argument because they really didn't have any other options. It would either going to be, if they didn't make that trade, they probably would have traded up for Fields, which would have been interesting. And I would have loved to live in that timeline, but they didn't, and you have to live with it. So you're not going to tilt me there. You'll tilt me if you bring up Mo Alley Cox, but you won't bring me up if you're trying to bait me into that stuff. I'm not Jason.
At least they didn't trade for Sam Darnold.
That was a possibility.
Golly.
That was the worst move of the offseason.
No, the worst move was guaranteeing his fifth-year option.
Yeah. And, that's another job that will be open next year. The Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, yeah.
They might be the most directionless football team in the NFL. Because they are a lame.
No, I still think it's the Texans, man.
Yeah. They have good options there. I'd have to look at the contracts, but CMC is still there. Moore's there.
But can you trust CMC?
Moore's in his last
season?
year too. A lot
still counts for a year.
DJ Moore could very well decide, F this, I'm out. You guys have done nothing for my career. I'm looking at Deebo Samuel down in San Francisco. I could do that stuff because DJ Moore is a load to bring down, one of the most electric players in space in the NFL.
Yeah, it's just, again, trying to figure out where he'd end up that would give him better outcome, better payment. You have to find somewhere that's going to have the cap room for him, expecting what the payment will look like for wide receivers at that point is, it's going to be rough. I seeing what the market is for any kind of job at this point is going to be tough.
It's going to be an interesting offseason and a fun offseason. And you can follow along all offseason long with importantnonsense.com. Any things to plug? Any pluggables to plug before we get out of here, guys?
I'd really like more people to be on our Discord, but
I would.
Outside of that, I'd like talking to people. So I have a whole lot of frustrations going on right now with fantasy life. I've tried to cancel my subscription multiple times, and I can't get a hold of anybody to help me get through that. the app sends me to my Apple ID and back and forth, and
Jason's just airing his dirty laundry.
Oh no,
It seems
I'm
like
so
that.
frustrating. I'm so frustrated because it's just like, great, I'm gonna be stuck with this forever, and I'm going
So
to
instead
have
of like plugging them, you're telling me how bad they are.
well, I'm just frustrated. So I
Let's go
figured now's
reverse
a
plug.
great time to talk about it.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, I don't mean to like discount what you're saying. Like you go right ahead and you rant away, Jason.
It's a reverse plug, and you know what? It sounds like a gym membership. It's impossible to cancel. They just
It's
don't let you
amazing.
do it.
I wish there was a phone number. The guys who used to run it were great about getting back to you. Now they just kind of see what you say and hopefully do something. I just don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what they end up going with.
Jordan, do you have any pluggables to plug?
Yeah, if anybody knows Teron Armstead personally, reach out to him and tell him that Indianapolis isn't as bad as you think it would be.
Well, I love that Jordan's shooting a shot right now.
Other people, you know what? Like other people are looking at like Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams. No, I want Teron Armstead. I want the All-Pro left tackle.
Jason, head of customer support for important nonsense.
Yeah, I'm always here for the customers. I have such a short fuse that it goes off very easily. But let me tell you, when I'm rooting for you, you're going hard with me. We're going to go into the paint. We're going to get some buckets.
You're frustrated because you know how you take care of people, and you would never do that.
Well, of course. I mean, that's like the whole part of like even joining this space was so I can help people. That's the whole purpose of it. And the fact that I really enjoyed the app, everything else, it's so frustrating to see it go in this direction, and it makes me sad because I really enjoyed it, and it really gave me, great friends on that app especially, but seeing person after person leaving it and saying that they aren't going to be there for next year is definitely sad. And so with that in mind, make sure you join our Discord.
And be our friend. Talk to us.
Because we will always be there for you. Even if you don't want to hear it.
We will. But that's going to do it for us here tonight. And so with that, we will see you next time.